Well, thank you, Tom. And hey, I just want to say it is a true honor to be with all of you tonight to talk about a pretty special hunt. And I wish we would have seen caribou like that come through the valley, but we didn't. But we did have a really neat hunt. And like Tom said, I'm Bryan Burkhardt.
I'm Jim Eeckhout.
And it truly is an honor to be here. And I think everyone's seen this picture of this iconic, photo of the 1959 Little Delta hunt. And that's, it's just an iconic photo, and we were really honored to participate in this hunt. So our goal on this hunt was to really commemorate the 1959 hunt and pay tribute to Fred Bear and Glenn St. Charles, true legends. So how did this hunt come about? How many people know this guy? It's this guy's fault right here. So 2018, Monty and I were sharing camp in Alaska, and he shot a bull dandy moose. And here's a picture of it. And he said, you know what, this is my 25th year hunting in Alaska, hunting moose in Alaska. And, I put Annie through so much. She's never complained once about any of my hunting trips. And I just feel like I need to spend more time with her. And he said, so, I shot a bull of a lifetime, and basically, this is going to be my last year. So, I had mixed emotions going through my mind relative to, I'm going to really miss Monty being up there, but I was really happy that he went out on top. And I heard today in a seminar that he may come out of retirement, so we will see. But anyway, so we sat around the campfire, and he told me, hey, Brian, this is going to be my last year. And I said, Monty, are you sure? Are you 100% sure? Because I'm getting ready to ask someone else. And he said, I'm at peace with my decision. Go ahead and ask somebody else. He said, I bequeath the valley to you. So anyway, Jim?
So I guess probably for the last, 6 or 7 years, I've been asking Brian about every, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If there's ever a chance or an opening to go, I'd be really interested in going along. If Monty ever retired from the valley.
So I called Jim and I said, hey Jim, Monty's not coming back. Would you like to go moose hunting? And it took you how long to say?
Maybe 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
2 seconds.
anyway, I was really excited to have Jim up in moose camp, and I was really wanting Jim to kill his first moose with the traditional equipment. So the other part of the story here is I was driving to work and I was listening to the Fred Bear Field Notes podcast. And the session that I was listening to was recapping the 1959 Little Delta hunt. And it just clicked. I'm like, wow, this is the 60th anniversary of that iconic hunt. And I knew Jim was an avid bear archery fan. I said, how cool would it be to go up there with 59 Bear Kodiaks and vintage equipment and go moose hunting and commemorate that hunt? So I called Jim and I ran the idea by him, and
again, it took me 2 seconds. I said, I'm all in. Let's do this.
so that was the foundation of the hunt. And then basically, go ahead.
Well, so then, Brian and I started talking, and we both realized that we both needed to get original 59 Kodiaks that were in hunting weight. So I started looking around. I was lucky enough to find one on eBay, but it was in pretty bad shape. It was like ready for the scrap pile. But then I thought, well, what better bow to take on this hunt and have it refurbished and take it up there to breathe new life into it.
Bring it back to life. But prior to that, we actually went to the Tradbo Expo in Kalamazoo, and we started socializing the idea of this hunt. And everyone we talked to was starting to get cranked up, and the word started to spread about this hunt. And John Cabisa, who's here tonight, and him and Gene Hopkins have the big, vintage archery display in the room there. He had a display in Kalamazoo, and he had Fred Bear's personal takedown as well as his Borsellino hat. I'm like, John, I've got to hold that bow and put that hat on for good mojo. So that's the picture you see here. And then one of the things that happened at the Tradbo Expo is another friend said it would really be cool if you had Suzanne St. Charles make your arrows, and then you'd have a St. Charles connection. And so I called Suzanne the next day and said, hey, Suzanne, we would really like to have you make our arrows. And what we'd like to do is replicate the arrows that Fred used on the 1959 Little Delta Hunt. And Suzanne said, you know, Bryan, I'm booked through April, you know, I'm really busy, I don't really want to take any more orders. And I said, Suzanne, you don't understand, we're going to be commemorating or paying tribute to your father and to Fred Bear. And she said, well, I don't like, you know, my dad never liked Fred's all white arrows, and I don't have a white dip tube. And I'm like, Suzanne, every time I'd come to Seattle on a business trip, I'd go meet your dad, we'd go up in the office, and he'd pull out files and tell stories. She's like, you're really making this hard for me to say no. I said, well, I don't want you to say no. And she said, all right, I'll do it. So she finally cracked, and then became actually very excited about being part of the tribute hunt. And then one of the other things I did is Fred shot 2 natural barred turkey feathers with the cock feather dyed yellow. So we needed to secure those feathers. So I called 3 Rivers, talked to Dean Vanderhorst, secured the feathers, and then we also got some original Fred Bear knocks. So we had the arrows nailed down, and then as Jim mentioned, we had to secure the bow and arrows. So Jim found his off eBay, brought it back to life, and then tried to find a 59 Kodiak in moose hunting weight that somebody is willing to sell is not all that easy. But I did have a friend that said, you know, I really think it's a cool idea, and I've got a bow, it's a 58-pound, 64-inch, 59 all-original Kodiak that really deserves to go on a special hunt. And he was willing to sell it to me. So that's what I ended up, you know, purchasing from my friend. And then in February, John Cabisa invited us over to his place. And he has all the original slides from the 1959 Little Delta Hunt. So we went over there to have a 1959 Little Delta Day. And when we were at his place, Jason Hansen, who I was purchasing the bow from, brought the bow over. So I purchased that there. And then John had another Borsellino hat, identical to the one Fred had, same color, same brand, and it fit me. And I'm like, I've got to have that hat. And he was generous enough to sell me that hat as well. So a lot of pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together. And Jim, you picked up some stuff there too.
Yeah, so John had an original camo jacket, which Bear Archery started carrying in 1959, camo with a K, so it fit me. So he graciously sold that to me. And then he offered up the knocks like Bryan had mentioned earlier. Those are original Bear knocks, so we went through those and got what we needed. And then at the end of the day, when everything was all done, we ended up breaking out a little bit of bourbon and toasting the hunt with original Bear tumblers.
So it was a pretty cool day. And again, the anticipation was just building for the hunt. Then I attended the Pope and Young convention in April, and the person on the right, I met Wade Phillips for the first time from Nebraska. And he was generous enough to, he had a big archery display there and donated 8 original 59 Bear Razorheads for the hunt. So that's pretty cool. Dale Karch donated some, as well as Dan Mackett, another friend from Michigan. And then Craig Schoenberg actually said, Bryan, I've got a Bear tuxedo jacket with a vintage fade that would be perfect for this hunt, and I'd be honored for you to take it up there. So that came together too. And then I had the privilege of chatting with Dick and Carol Mock, and unfortunately Dick has passed. But Dick hunted in the Little Delta cabin in the early 60s. And he was telling me the story about how he had to repair the roof because of a grizzly bear going through it. And that, you know, that was like the second or third time a grizzly had gone through the roof. But he was repairing it with a rolled aluminum product. So just really neat hearing about the history of that place and talking to one of the individuals that was actually there and hunted there. So again, everything was coming together. Here's the Grayling tuxedo jacket, and then Wade Phillips also donated this replica Fred Bear shooting glove with the embedded compass. So the entire traditional community was really rallying around the hunt, and we had people calling us up saying, hey, I heard about the hunt, I've got this, I'd like to send you to take up on the hunt. So it was pretty cool to see the community come together.
Yeah, we thought we were going to have to get another plane for all the stuff.
Yeah.
There was so much stuff. But anyway, and then during that time, the word obviously was getting out amongst the traditional community, and then we were asked by the guys who run the Stickbow Chronicles podcast and do a podcast of what was leading up to the hunt. So we did that, and then they also had us take our recording unit with us out in the field, and we did basically like a field notes day to day, every night when we met back in camp, of the events that took place that day. So both of those podcasts are out there if you guys haven't heard them.
And at this point, you know, Jim and I love the planning process of the hunts. I mean, it's really special for, you know, for both of us. But, you know, this year it was like way over the top in terms of gathering all the vintage gear. So it was pretty cool. But Jim and I were really at the point where we're like, we just want to get up to Alaska and go hunting and have an adventure. We were at that point. So this is us halfway into camp. So what the pilot normally does is put us on a caravan plane, a 10-seater. We fly up with other moose hunters to a halfway strip, and then the pilot shuttles us in to moose camp one at a time in the Super Cup. But here's some video of us at the halfway strip. Okay, we need some help in the back there. Yeah, this worked earlier, so. Do we have any help in the back? You know what they say about computers? Just start them up again. Yeah, we tested this out earlier and it's working, so.
No, we can't even hear through that.
Yeah, when we tested it earlier, we could hear, you know, through the audio system, so. Yeah, computer's up. I'm going to do something else today. Oh, what? We may need your help, Brian.
Thanks.
Oh, wait.
Now we have it here.
We have it. I can hear it on my computer, but. Yeah, it's.
No. And the sidewalks are so light. That was really nice.
Well, the sidewalk, yeah, it's white.
Well, it's because of
Calling
the lights.
somebody.
They're calling somebody who cares.
Do we have anybody from the staff?
We're calling them. We're calling them.
Okay.
We've called them.
Get like that. Or maybe that's what makes him hurt.
Who needs the drink?
Friday the 13th. This is when you did your speech. All by yourself?
So, Matt, you want to take a break?
Pardon me?
You told me you went over. You didn't say that.
There's somebody coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think?
I don't remember what was said.
Brian, give it a shot.
Try it.
Try it. Okay, turn it up a little bit.
That's the most important.
Yeah, John Cecil engaged and he's like,
Okay, let's go back. So I think we've got it going again.
We're halfway there.
there's so many steps to getting into moose camp. It's just probably about 10 different steps, but everything's been going pretty smooth.
Yeah, so far everything's real smooth. The weather's cooperated. It was a beautiful day.
Pilot's got Kevin and Brian Russell in the camp, so he's going to come back and get us in the camp. We contribute to Fred Glenn.
Yeah, no, you did make it here safely. No damage.
Yeah, I was a little concerned about flying with my arrows in the box, but that held up well.
Yeah.
And the bows,
Yeah.
check the bows. This case from Brewer was really held up well too. So.
Mine in the 3 Rivers arrow case worked out perfect.
And Fred, the bolo tie is
The bolo tie,
still
yeah.
on us.
That's the most important.
Yeah, John Cabisa was engaged and he's like, if you get eaten by a bear, I need to know the coordinates because I want that bolo tie. He wasn't really concerned about me.
He's going to start searching for it now.
Yeah. So, yeah, good times. Yeah, we're going to have some fun with this.
Yes, we are. Well, hopefully the pilot will be here in about 45 minutes to start shuttling us and our gear to moose camp.
Yeah. Last year when I was here, we were trying to get out and the weather turned bad, got socked in, and we ended up spending the night into the airstrip over here in my teepee, so.
That's not a bad place to be.
No, but we're going to get out today.
Yeah.
It's a great day, so.
Yeah.
Great day for flying.
Good.
So buddy, let's have an adventure.
Yes.
Kill a couple moose.
Right.
It'll be fun. If we kill a couple moose, it'd be a lot of work too.
It's all right. I went for the tax.
Not for any work.
Nope. It's good work.
So I am wearing that bolo tie right now. And again, I want to thank John Cabisa for letting me wear it. It's a pretty treasured piece. And Russell Lantier was generous enough to bring his personal Fred Bear bolo tie for Jim to wear. So thank you, Russell. Really appreciate it. Pretty cool stuff.
So we finally made it into camp.
Maybe. Yeah, no real issues. It's a beautiful day. I mean, it's warm right now. It's 70-some degrees.
Yeah, at least 70.
Well, the pilot said it's frosty at night, so some nice cool mornings will be floating. But there's definitely some moose in the valley, and we're feeling pretty optimistic. So what do you think so far?
Beautiful. Ready.
Yeah, now what we've got to do is get our gear. We just landed and then shuttle it across the river and get camp set up. And fortunately, we've got a great day to set up camp, so we're lucky in that regard. So we'll be driving, have a dinner tonight,
Yeah.
and then maybe do a little calling and get ready for it tomorrow morning. But I'm glad to have you up here.
Glad to be here. So glad.
Let's get it done. So every year when we go into camp, you just don't know what you're going to run into. But typically, there's evidence of grizzly bear every year we come into camp. And this year,
Jim and I
it's no different.
got our stuff in the camp. We had some stuff up in the camp, and you can see we've got a grizzly around. It's probably the one that stole Monty's moose cape last year. But hopefully we get to see him. Time to set up camp.
So this is our camp. It's an 8-man teepee, and we have a titanium wood stove in there, and it's weather resistant, keeps everything dry. We got all our gear in there. We even store a bunch of firewood in the back in case it's raining. It works out perfect to keep, like I say, stuff dry, or if it gets wet, we can get the fire going and dry everything out.
And once we had camp set up, we're like, okay, let's get ready for hunting. So we did a little midday practicing.
Again, let's do a little midday stump shoot. Right there. Well, let's do that stump right there. Right?
You're making noise.
Let's do that again. Yeah, don't hit my knife. Ooh, that. Oh, nice.
Let's see where we're hitting it.
So these are arrows that Suzanne St. Charles made. They're Sherwood shafts. And fletching, when I was talking with Suzanne about making our arrows, she mentioned that she had some of Glenn's original feathers from 1959. So these are those feathers. These are original bear knocks donated by John Cabisa. And again, with the Threadbare, Preston. So pretty cool that, and she signed these.
Yeah, these are signed by her, so it's really
Pretty
nice.
special, and thanks, Suzanne. Really appreciate it. But they're good stump arrows too.
Yeah.
That's sure you did. All right.
So the first morning, since I hadn't hunted there before, Bryan said, I'll go with you. I'll show you a good glassing spot. It's downriver about a half mile. So we made our way down there and got to the glassing spot. And then, I don't know, we weren't there very long. And I said, Bryan, look, I see a cow and a calf coming, and they end up coming up the valley and cross straight down below us.
There's a bull. Jim spotted a cow and a calf looking through the valley, and then I spotted this bull coming from the hillside. So I was trying to get a beat on which way he's going to travel, and we may make a move.
So that's pretty good when you're first morning and you're already running into cows in the valley with a bull. And oops, let me go that way. And then I looked at the back of the valley and saw just a whopper of a bull, following another cow and a calf. So we had a number of moose in the valley that first morning.
All right, there's that group coming out of the timber.
That's about a half mile away from where we're at.
Okay, we've got a small bull, a cow, and a bigger bull you can see in the frame. Then we're thinking about bailing off the side of the mountain and going after that guy. Just want to watch him to see which way he's going to go.
So Brian and I decided to make a play on those bulls that were there, at least the one. There was a smaller bull with that one, so we Monty can vouch for this. It's pretty steep down the side of that mountain, so we went down the side of that, across the river. We got in fairly close to him. We both knocked arrows, and Brian grabbed the fake antler, and we started calling, and I don't know, he just wasn't in that fighting mood. I think they were more like lovers, not fighters. They just kind of faded off back into the spruce, and I thought, we both kind of agreed that it's the first morning, let's not mess this up, and we kind of backed down, went back up to the glassing spot.
Yeah. And then, so we went back to camp for lunch and then went out for the afternoon hunt. And you know, it was pretty warm still, so we weren't really seeing much, you know, in the afternoon. But right towards the evening, I saw this bull, and he was working his way, you know, from the backside of the valley right towards the airstrip. And I had flashbacks of 2015 where I'd actually killed a moose right at the end of the airstrip. And so I'm like, man, could it happen again? And every bow hunter knows if you can kill a moose right by the airstrip, it is a phenomenal thing. But I made beeline down the mountain, crossed the river, climbed up the opposite bank, and had this bull at about 50 yards. And again, I had the fake antler and started, you know, grunting and walking towards him. But again, it was early and they just weren't being aggressive, and he slipped back into the timber.
It's the second morning gone. I'm trying to get to my glassing spot. I got this bull right here. Pretty nice one. It's a real nice one. And there's a cow and a calf I was watching, and he just walked out. I watched him for a couple minutes and tried to slide down there.
That's a pretty nice bull right there.
Cow and calf over here. The problem I have right now is my scent is going directly to that one. These big boys on me. Get situated here. Well, I made stock on that big bull, and actually got within 30 yards of him. The first one was about 50 yards. And got between him and a cow, and I thought, well, that's it. And thought he'd come to the antler. I held up the antler. He was more of a, I guess, a lover, not a fighter, but he went back into the timber right down over here. And I snuck in there, and he was chasing them cows around, and I had him a couple times at 30 yards, but I just couldn't get the right shot. He was facing me, and then there was another bull in there. And I got a cow and a calf coming across the valley here to join him right now. I don't know if you can see this. I'm trying to find him in the viewfinder. There they are.
So I was watching Jim make this stalk on this bull, and then all of a sudden I saw a cow and a bull just running down the valley and towards my direction.
This is what that bull was doing. He was like a whitetail in there. I was watching him, just chasing the doe. He was chasing that cow, and finally he broke out and started running down towards Bryan. And this is what he was saying.
So this bull chased this cow, I'd say at least a half a mile, and he was just dogging it. The good thing is he ended up stopping right in front of me. So here's a picture, and right now he's in front of my glassing spot. Jim and I are hunting about a mile away from each other, and so I had this bull just basically right in front of me. So again, I went down and went across the river, got on the other side, and I actually saw the cow, and then this bull was bedded. And typically, if you can have a cow and a bull and you can go in there and steal his cow, somebody's going to get hurt. So to me, it's a really good setup. But I started walking in with the fake antler, and again, he just took his cow and went back in the brush. So everything was, a little slow from a rut standpoint, but the good news is we were seeing a ton of moose in the valley.
So the next day was 9/11, and when we went out hunting that morning, it was like foggy and misty and rainy, and just continued to rain harder and harder. So I went back to camp early, and Bryan was there calling from camp, and we sat there. So then we decided, it kind of cleared out, and we decided to take this photo and picture to our veterans.
Yeah, 9/11. So again, I know we thanked the veterans and the active military earlier, but thank you again. We really appreciate it. We also did a tribute for a good friend of Jim and mine that tragically was killed in a car accident, David Hewitt, last February. And so here's that tribute.
It's September 11th,
Can we turn up the sound a little bit?
and Jim and I are in Moose Camp, and we're going to pay tribute to our friend David Hewitt. Dear God, thank you for our friend David, and thank you that we had such a positive influence on so many lives. Bless this tribute we're going to pay, and David, rest in peace till we meet again. Amen.
It's what we have. See here a couple of gauge arrows. So walk up here and show you. We had them signed by Drew and Olivia. Signing these arrows for us. And we decided to bring them up here to Alaska on this tribute hunt with us. So hard to do to come up here to Alaska with us. And, we're going to send these arrows, as Dave would say.
Hunters ready. Drop. Send.
There's where the arrows went. Rest in peace, buddy.
So then it cleared out a little bit later that day, and before we went out for the afternoon hunt, we decided to sit around and sharpen our broadheads and just go through gear and stuff. So that's what this is.
I've got, for the tribute hunt, I've got this, it's called the Fred Bear Kit, and this was my dad's. So he's skinned a lot of whitetails with this, but during his hunting, he actually had lost the file. So last year at the Open Hunt Convention, I was chatting with Dan Williams, and he said, hey, come to my room. I was telling him about the hunt and what we were doing. He said, come to my room, I got a file. So he gave us for the hunt. So, yeah, let's go shooting some arrows.
Yeah, this one here, this knife set. This is from Randy Brookshire. And look at the condition of this.
That's like brand new.
Brand new. And he said in the note when he sent this to get some blood on it, so try it.
Well, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we turn up the volume a little bit, please?
Yeah, so many people have donated, cool stuff for this treatment hunt, and it's just neat that so many people can be a part of this adventure and really pay tribute to Fred Bear and Glen St. Charles. So the real pioneers that made this possible. So it's just pretty special, and like we keep saying, it'd be really nice to get a couple moves.
Yeah. Yep.
One of the other items, well, we're wearing a few items right now. This bolo tie is Fred Bear's personal bolo tie, and John Cabisa, our good friend, let me bring it up here on the hunt, and it's just got some really cool mojo with it. So we've got that. The shirt, a guy by the name of Drew Metters, said, hey, I'd love to have this shirt go to Alaska. So I've been wearing this every day. And then Craig Schoenberg, said, hey, I've got a Fred Bear tuxedo jacket that has the vintage fade and would be perfect for the hunt. So having fun, wearing that as well.
Yeah, I got this jacket from John Cabisa as well. This is an original, it's the Camel brand.
Yeah.
They came out in 1959 in
Camel with
America.
a K.
Yeah, Camel with a K. So it's pretty neat stuff. And there's so many people donated so much, we can't thank everybody enough.
And Steve Shiplett, he said, hey, I've got a box for you. And so I took it home. This is the actual box that he gave me. But inside were some old arrows too and some vintage Bear razor heads. So pretty cool stuff. Dale Karch, Wade Phillips, a number of guys donated vintage Bear razor heads that I've got in my quiver. Jim Kinsey was another one. So it's pretty cool to have all those guys part of the hunt.
Yeah, basically, we're using so much stuff that's all original, Bear equipment from 1959 and what was issued when they're available. So it's pretty neat to bring it all up here and use it.
Yeah, and we got these, we did a lot of research on Fred's arrows, and he shot 2 natural barred turkey feathers and then 1 turkey feather dyed yellow. And so I got a hold of 3 Rivers, and they hooked us up with some feathers. So just pretty neat stuff.
And these are the Bear Knox too from John Cabisa again, the original ones. And this pattern was the same pattern Fred used in '59 on both the Little Delta Bowhunt and the Brown Bowhunt.
Right.
And we sent it to Suzanne, and she copied it.
So the afternoon of day 3, I actually got to my glassing spot and looked across the valley and saw this bull starting to get cranked up. So that was a pretty good sign. That's what I like to see right there, raking brush. Maybe another bull in there, but looks like they're starting to get cranked up a bit. So that's a pretty nice bull, and then I actually saw him start working his way down towards Jim.
This bull working the valley.
backside right there.
And he just
Nice
hung in the
one.
back of the valley. I just watched him for quite some time.
Keep an eye on him and see what he's doing, and he starts to come this way, I'll make a play for him. He's a nice one. For sure. So if there's anything else, if he gets closer, I'll get some more video.
So he never did get any closer, but then the next day, I actually, went to my glassing spot and then caught a glimpse of this guy, actually walking right towards camp. It's a really nice grizzly bear. Anyway, we'll skip over, but this bear actually got about 100 yards away from our camp. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is not a good sign. If he gets into camp, we're going to have some issues. And we've got technical issues right now. So every year when we're up there, we do see grizzly bear. Like I said, this one was working his way right towards camp. So, I saw him work through camp, or work right towards camp. He's about 100 yards away and right by the river. And then the next thing I saw, I think, Jim had some laundry on a clothesline, and the next thing I saw was this. Running the opposite way from camp, so I was pretty happy about that.
All right, guys, I just wanted to show you where the grizzly bear does with a moose kill. This is where Monty's moose was buried by the grizzly last year. And just look at how big of an area that is that he dug up. I'll just show you what he did. He took down trees. And just dug up this whole area to bury that carcass. And you can see some of the rib bones there. But it just keeps going. Here's part of the vertebrae. There's some more of the vertebrae. But what is it? That's a huge area that he dug up. And found both shoulder blades, so gonna bring those back home. But Monty, I hope you get a kick out of this, buddy. Old Mudflap was a strong bear.
So then that evening, Jim and I were sitting by the campfire, and I was telling Jim about the year before when I came into camp. I spotted a bull right across the river from camp, and I said, "Hey, Monty, there's a bull." And so he instantly grabbed his bow, grabbed an antler, and started, working the bull. And I was behind him, cow calling, and we eventually got this bull to come across the river right into camp. And I could see Monty getting ready to shoot, and all of a sudden he pulls back and he shoots, and I just see this bull go through the river just like a bulldozer, going into a pond. I mean, it just splashed up. I ran up to Monty and I'm like, "What happened?" And he's like, "I missed." And I said, I'm just thinking for a second, and I'm like, "Monty, it was right in camp. How can you miss a moose at 20 yards? And he said, "Well, a lot can happen when you're in the middle of having a heart attack." So, anyway, I was telling Jim this story.
And so I was telling me, I said, "Well, we just poured our water at our mountain house while it's hydrated. Why don't you give him a couple calls?" So he walks over to the riverbank and he calls a couple times, and I kind of look up and he's yelling. He's like, "Get your bow, get your bow." And I'm like, he's not kidding me. So he's running for his bow and I'm grabbing my bow.
Yeah, we could see actually two bulls coming down the mountainside, and they crossed right in front of camp. And so, we grabbed our bows and started calling. I had, you had the fake antler, and I had, I was cow calling, and we had both bulls very curious, but they just weren't committing to come across the river, and it ended up being a standoff until it got dark. And we were actually in our camp shoes. And so we could have kicked ourselves because we took our hunting boots off, and throughout the rest of the hunt, we kept our hunting boots on until we went to bed. But anyway, again, we continued to see moose in the valley. And then the next morning,
Next day was Friday the 13th, and when we got up that morning, we were getting gear together and stuff, and I told Brian, I said, "Well, it's Friday the 13th, and in my book, that's good luck." And Brian said, "Well, I'm not superstitious." I said, "Well, something good's going to happen today. I just have a good feeling." So
we shouldered our packs and went to our respective glassing spots. And 20 minutes into the hunt, I saw a cow actually working right towards camp. And then 20 minutes later, I saw a bull working real tight to the side of the valley. And I know where these bulls travel. I've hunted there enough, so I rushed down the mountain, crossed the river, and basically set up an ambush. And I could hear the bull grunting, and it was getting closer and closer. And then all of a sudden, I just saw the palms coming above the willows right in my direction. And I looked at the bull, and I'm like, "This is a young bull," because it had narrow paddles. And then the bull turned sideways, and I just saw these fantastic points, and I'm like, "You know what? This is a gift, and it is not polite to turn down gifts. So if this bull gives me an opportunity, I'm going to take the shot." And it was 25 yards. It's just started right before it crossed the river. I took a shot, and here was the end result.
As you can see, we've got a nice bull down. Brian was lucky this morning. Take a look at that. That's a nice one.
Yeah, it's smallest one I've shot, but it'll look great in the cabin. And it's a great tribute to Fred Bear and Glenn St. Charles. So I'm a pretty happy guy right now.
Yeah, I'd be happy. That's a beautiful bull. Great. I like Fred proud. Huh?
I might need some help.
You need some help?
I'm not a big guy, so I'm like, "Hey, Jim, come over and help me out."
We've got our work done.
And you'll see the results of that as well.
Get it done. Wow. Yeah. Nice young bull. Right by the river. So what we'd like to do is get a raft floating in here and get them out, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. Yeah, he's a pretty bull. Nice points. Yeah, I mean, he's a young bull, but
Yeah, that didn't work either.
You know what? We got a lot of work.
Yeah. We got it done.
Yeah.
As you can see. Brian, why don't you tell us what took place this morning with your hunt?
Well, we went out to my glassing spot upriver about a half mile from camp. And I was up there, and right around 7:30, I saw a lone cow kind of working her way towards camp along the bank. And then, let's say 20 minutes after that, I spotted the bull coming upriver, and ended up being this guy. And where I'm hunting, I've got this one spot where it's a little bit of a funnel, and I had a pretty good idea of where he was going to go. So I made a beeline down the mountain and got on this little peninsula, and then I heard him grunting. And so I just got in front of him and basically did an ambush, and he popped out about 25 yards, and he was getting ready to cross the river, and right before he crossed, I shot, and my shot was a little low, but I hit him, and then he ran across the river, and he stopped there, and I ended up going across the river to get another arrow into him, and I eventually did, and fortunately we found him here right by the river. So pretty cool sequence of events, and I'm certainly glad that we got him done. And you know, the panels don't look, you know, the panel, I thought he was a young bull, but you know, when I put my bow up on the width, I mean, he's probably at 60 inches. This
Yeah,
is
he's
a
60 inch all day. Yeah.
So nice moves and great looking points. And like I said, he'll look good in the cabin.
There you go. Well, congrats again.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. We've got a lot of work in front of us, but well, we're going to eat well.
Yes, we are.
We have lots of mountain house.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool, you know, when you can be in that environment and get a moose down and realize how big they are, it's a pretty neat feeling.
So then, I don't know, it was probably not quite a month after we got back from the hunt, I get an envelope in the mail, and it has this photo, and Brian received one too, and Craig Schoenberg made this photo up. If you notice, you can see the image of Glenn St. Charles and Fred Barrow over both of our shoulders, kind of like they were looking over us on the hunt. Hopefully not laughing too hard.
Yeah, I think most of the time they're probably laughing, but hopefully on this day they were smiling down.
So we ended up, we butchered the moose up, and we were, like Brian said, right next to the river, so we had to relay all that across. And then we ended up packing all the meat back to about a half a mile from the runway. And we staged it there on a tarp for the night, and it was like the last load in the rack where it was dark. So we left there, went across the camp, and we ate, and it was kind of like we were done. Ate, and we were out cold. I woke up and it kind of, something woke me, I didn't know what it was, and I looked at what time it was, and it was like midnight. Then I heard something again, I'm like, uh-oh, it's wolves. And I could hear it right where we had staged the meet. Brian, get him, I was like, well, I go listen, he's like, that's not good. I'm like, no. And all night we heard these wolves non-stop, and we're both thinking, all our hard work, and there's not going to be anything left. And
Yeah, so I mean, you know, I told Jim, I'm like, we really can't do anything about it right now, but the next morning, you go down the river and hunt, and I'll go, you know, check on the meat, and hopefully it's in good shape. But honestly, I felt I was going to walk up on just a bunch of carnage. But the next morning, the wolves were still howling when I left camp. So I went to my glassing spot because I could see where we'd staged the meat, and I'm glassing, everything looks like it's intact. So I started my descent down the mountain, and I'm just waiting to see a wolf, you know, because I just heard them a few minutes ago. Didn't see a wolf, crossed the river, and saw the bags. They weren't touched. So it was a real blessing to have all our hard-earned meat intact. So I ended up spending the morning packing the meat from the staging area to the airstrip. Jim met me at noon. We hung up the meat and put up the electric fence. But there's in 2018, when Monty killed that bull of a lifetime, I told Monty, I'm like, God put us together for a reason. And I said, I'd never question that, but I know he put us together for a reason. And after he shot that moose of a lifetime, and I packed out the entire moose and the entire cape, I told Monty, I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I know why God put us together, so I could pack out your bull of a lifetime. And Monty got this little smirk, and he's like, I'm okay with that. So, Jim, I know God put you and I together for a reason too, and thank you for packing out my bulls.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So here's a photo that Jim snapped of the last load going to the airstrip, and pretty neat photo. And it's always great when we call the pilot and he said, hey, I'm not going to be able to get in for 3 days. And I said, well, we've got all the meat taken care of, so we just hope we don't have a bear issue. But pilot was coming in, putting the moose rack on the struts, and that's always a great feeling. And I think you guys will get a kick out of this.
One of the other things that
Can we turn up the sound, please?
take on the trigger line. This, believe it or not, is a signed toothpick from Glen St. Charles. And guess who gave it to me? Gene Wenzel. Now I know what you're thinking. Why would Gene Wenzel have a signed toothpick from Glen St. Charles? Let me put the toothpick in here. And I'll read you the letter that Gene sent. This was on April 6th, 2019. Bryan, here's something you won't find every day. A genuine old autographed toothpick signed by Glen St. Charles decades ago. This is not a Wenzel print. That's where I first started. I had him sign a half dozen or so many years ago. I hope you can pick some caribou steak from your teeth in the Little Delta. Good hunting, Gene Wenzel. Well, Gene, we didn't have any caribou come through, but tonight we're having interior fillet of my moose, and I will definitely use the toothpick to take moose meat out of my teeth. Unbelievable. Who else but Gene Wenzel would have a signed toothpick from Glen St. Charles?
So that's pretty cool. But this next slide that I'm going to show you really has nothing to do with the trivia hunt. But I've done a lot of research on the coronavirus, and I'm fairly confident I found the origin of this. And I shot this photo a few years ago in Ohio, but I'm pretty sure this is what started. So look where the hose is at.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, Mary, tell Gene it's all his fault.
So that night when, like Bryan said, we had the fire going and we cooked an interior fillet. And if anybody's ever eaten it, they know that's the finest meat there is. And to say we were overserved was an understatement. We continued to eat like that every night.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And we had all this vintage stuff and all these priceless items up there with us. And you've got a lot of responsibility to get all this stuff back and give it back to their owners. And we had one item that unfortunately we had a tragic event. And here's some of
Check this out. This is a coin that my friend Kevin Dice gave me. And this was from the 1936 World's Fair in Chicago. And Art Young was handing these out to kids when they come and watch his films. That's pretty so yeah, it's got an archer on one side of the camera. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. But there's an archer on one side, and then Art Young signature there, and it talks about the World's Fair and the sportsman show. So, pretty cool stuff. And what's even more neat about this coin
is Gene Hopkins gave this to Kevin Nice when his wife, was diagnosed with cancer for good medicine.
Okay.
And then in turn, Kevin heard about us going on this tribute hunt, and he said this coin's got to go, and it's good medicine to kill a moose. So far, it's worked for me.
It's a good lunch on it.
It's a good lunch on it. Hey, just take a look at it.
What year is it?
1936.
Well, it's good luck, right?
Good luck.
Here.
No! No!
We said good luck. What are you doing to Chloe?
Not that one.
Why? Good luck, you don't go in the water. There you go, buddy.
That worked out pretty good.
That was good.
So the next day, I asked Brian, I said, hey, do you mind going hunting with me? I said it in the morning, I said, because maybe we can do a deal like turkey hunting. So when you get a bull to respond, I said, maybe you can call and feedback or whatever. So he agreed to go with me, and we were at the glasses spot very long, and I was telling Brian where I'd been seeing him cross the valley, and I looked up and I seen this big bull cross the valley, and I said, there goes one right now. So I said, I know where he's going, so let's go. So we went down the side of the mountain, across the river, got in the center of the valley, and boy, we were there, not even 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And Brian's like, here he comes. And so Brian started calling and raking brush, and he was getting cranked up a little bit.
Yeah, he was doing what I call a trance stance, where he's just rocking back and forth. And I told Jim, I'm like, get ready, this is going to happen, it's going down.
Yeah, so Brian was in front of me, and it was just the way it worked out. I couldn't get in front of him because the bull was coming, and he crossed this little channel of the river, and he circled around to our right, but he was like at 35 yards and just never gave me a clear shot, and he just we watched him fade off and start heading up the river, and we decided we just went back out of it at that point.
So we were going to go back to our glassing spot, and as we were walking back to the glassing spot, we heard some grunting right by the river. So we were walking the river looking for this moose, and then I glanced to my right, and I see the bull that we had seen earlier right to my right. So he did a big circle, and I'm like, Jim, there he is right there. And he was working towards the river as well. And we got to the edge of the river. I picked up a shed antler, and we were walking towards the river, and then all of a sudden I see the bull, the bigger bull, going up the hill. And I'm like, Jim, there he is. Go after him. So Jim went across the river, and 3 days later made it up the mountain. So I ran up the side of that mountain, and I got up to the top. Mind you, it's pretty steep, right? So I got up to the top there, and I actually caught the bull, and I cut him off, but I could only get within about 60 yards of him in, and he just was more like a lover, not a fighter. He turned and he went back. So then Brian came up and joined me about a half hour later, and we were sitting there, about another half hour? Yeah, another 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then I looked down the river where the bull crossed the first time, and I'm like, Jim, there he is again. So he did another big loop, going back across the river. So we went down into the, across the river again after him.
Yeah, right into the same spot, and we probably hung out there for at least 20 minutes, a half hour, and calling and everything. Well, we didn't realize at the time until we started to leave, we figured, well, we missed them, so we're going to go back to the glassing spot, and we're walking out, and Brian turned to say something to me.
And I see the bull, the same bull again, 200 yards away. I'm like,
us.
there he is. And so, we were at the point where we're like, well, he's quite a ways away, and, we've already made 2 stalks on him. The odds of him coming in are pretty low, but I'm like, the only thing I know what to do is let me take the shed antler, start raking and cow calling and working away from him like I'm taking his cow away. And that started to work. Here's what we saw. So we had his attention, and I was raking brush and cow calling, and then all of a sudden he started working in our direction.
And this is the 3rd stalk on this bull within about a 2.5 hour time span, all within that valley.
So tell the rest of the story.
So Brian's calling, and I tell him the bull's coming, he's coming. So Brian, I said, start fading back, so he does, and the bull's coming and coming. And now it's a bluebird day, there's not a cloud in the sky, and I get kneeling down next to this black spruce, and I'm just waiting. And Brian's like fading back this way, and the bull's coming, and I'm watching him, and I'm watching him. Now I'm fully exposed in the sun, kneeling there. And I just, even though I'm right-handed shooter and you would think he'd want him here, I was focused he was gonna come here. Well, he got so far out, he turned and started paralleling this way. Well, he's coming and he's grunting, Brian's fading, and next thing you know, he stops at what I thought was about 30, well, I thought it was 20 some yards, but in the back of my head, I kept hearing this Monty Browning saying, just remember, Jim, they're not as far as you think they are, they're big animals. But then I'm thinking, okay, they're further than I'm supposed to, thinking, so I figured, well, he's probably 30, so I draw back and I shoot, and I shot high, right over.
And how far was it, Jim?
20.
And so I see Jim shoot, I run up, I'm like, did you get him? And he put his head down and he's like, I shot high. And I looked at him and I paused a little bit, I think I'm seeing it.
So
Across the valley, I've got 6 moose that just walked out.
That's pretty rare to see that.
I know at least 2, maybe 3 are bulls. And I just had a 40-inch bull below me. I just put another stock on and I couldn't get under 40 yards. And I seen all this movement. I'm like, what in the world?
So there's 3.
Pretty cool stuff. 6 moose across the valley.
yeah, so over the next few days, I don't know, I had a couple more stalks. Almost had a dozen stalks over the course of the hunt. And I think it was next to the second to the last day, I ended up seeing a half rack bull, and I ended up getting in on him and spending like 2 hours with him. Anywhere from 15 to 60 yards off and on, but just never quite giving me the right shot. And at one point he gave me actually a good broadside shot. There was a little bit of willows between me and him. I thought I could get the arrow through there, and I got a deflection and the arrow went underneath him. But all in all, it was just an amazing hunt. I was constantly in moose. It was amazing.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we had a great adventure, and it was really an honor to pay tribute to 2 of the legends, Fred Bear and Glenn St. Charles. And what we'd like to do now is just thank all the people that helped make this hunt possible and were part of this journey with Jim and I. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.